I'm so glad that you guys can join us. What an awesome day in May. I love that it's May. I love that spring is coming on its way. But we've got a real big thing to talk about, and that is Zoom. And Zoom has made a lot of changes over, the last week. A lot of people have kind of been rocked by it. And I noticed that there's a lot of talk inside of our Facebook group regarding Zoom, and so many people were frustrated with some of the new changes that are happening because now they are charging past the 40 minutes for people that are only working one-on-one with somebody else. And that has never been something that is has been done before. And so we're going to be talking about like what is the difference between somebody who is a side hustle teacher, a tutor, and a full-time tutor, and what does the business mindset look like for somebody in both of these positions, because they're different. And so when we take a look at that, it's really important to start really thinking about that we do have a diverse group of people inside of our community, and they do have differing opinions, but we don't need to judge people where they're at, right? I think that's so important for us to really be open-minded about how we are helping other people inside of our community and Facebook, and really being open to listen to what people are asking inside of the community. And I have two amazing people who are joining me today. We've got Leah Simpson and we've got Rebecca Aaron, who are in the house today. Leah, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
My name's Leah, and I am from Palmetto, Florida. And I am looking to start an online tutoring business. I've been a teacher of special education since 1995. I'm aging myself here. And I just really enjoy working with kids that struggle and maybe the ones that have been given up on.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So you're in the beginning stages of your business, and in the beginning stages, it seems like everything costs so much money. Like it's like all the different things that like you're adding on up. You're like, "Oh my gosh, like is this even going to be sustainable for me to be able to put in place?" And we also have Rebecca in the house today. Hello, Rebecca.
Hi, thank you for having me here.
I'm so glad that you are here. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
So I'm based in New York. I'm primarily a math tutor. I was doing in-person tutoring before the pandemic, and of course, we all know what happened, and that's
Yes.
how I found your group. And then I tutoring for me has always been something I did little bits of
Uh-huh.
ever since I was young. But then moving to New York after undergrad, it's a real industry there, and so that's when I got more deeply into it. And so I primarily do high school math, college math, SATs, stuff like that. And now I have gone back to in person somewhat
Okay.
because parents tend to value that, but it's been really neat to be able to keep the online part as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And the online, the parents value that as well. And it's just a matter of finding the right people. If somebody is like stuck in that mindset of no, online didn't work for my kid, like virtual, schooling didn't work for my kid, therefore online tutoring can't work. Like they don't understand that they're two different things, right? So there's an education piece inside of there, and all of that great stuff. But yeah, online is not going anywhere. Thank goodness. When the pandemic hit, I was actually one of those people that was excited because I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing! Like people have to try online. They have to go online. This is going to be fantastic." And there were pieces of it that were fantastic, and for some people there were pieces of it that weren't fantastic. And so now though people realize more people are open to it than were before the pandemic. So the pandemic really offered that for our students. And Rebecca, do you use Zoom when you do your tutoring?
Primarily, yeah, Zoom and then also Bit Paper for
Okay,
the
great.
kind of writing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Awesome. And would you consider yourself a full-time tutor at this point?
No, so I do that as one of many things I do actually.
Okay.
Although, admittedly, in New York, the way the rates are, it probably is somewhat similar to full time in other parts of the country. I'm not really sure.
Sure,
Uh,
sure. And do you work for yourself or do you work for other companies?
so I've worked for myself primarily. I tried a couple times working for a company, but I realized that I'd rather find students myself and then have the
Yeah.
direct relationships. And of course, also financially, the companies take anywhere from 40 to 60% in my experience, sometimes even
Mm-hmm.
70%.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just figured, why would I'm the one doing the work. Why not just do it myself?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Smart thinking, smart thinking. I realized the only thing that was difference between me and the other companies was the fact that um, I just didn't know how to market myself. And once I learned how to market myself, then I really didn't need to give that large of a cut to another company. So I love it. So what were your thoughts when you heard about Zoom charging for their services? What was your reaction?
I mean, it hasn't been a huge deal, I figure. I usually have found workarounds. You just end the meeting and restart it if you need to, or
Sure.
back when the group tutoring, like back when groups cost money, generally you just resend the link and 30 seconds later you're back in.
Sure. Yep.
But also it's worth paying for tools as well. Like if I were doing this many more hours, then I would probably just pay for the Zoom membership because I
Right.
mean it's useful to have good tools
Yeah.
and customers appreciate it too.
Right. And that's where that business mindset comes on in, isn't it? Let's have like if you have to think about like the cost of doing business. There's a piece of it. Like if you're doing it as a hobby, you're just working with a few students, there's definitely a difference in what you're kind of willing to pay for and what you don't want to pay for. And if you can get things for free, then you'll take them for free and see what they have to offer or do workarounds or those kinds of things to make it work. I was like working it out. I was like, okay, so Zoom is, if you guys, there's a link. I don't think I wrote it down on here. I didn't. There's a link that they have. Like if you put Zoom changes and you pull up Zoom, they actually have a link where you can get 40% off for a yearly membership. So it's $90 a month. I broke that down by $90 a year. I broke that down by month, $7.50 a month. I'm like, "Hmm, so that's not too bad. I mean, if I only had though like two students and I'm only making, let's say $200 a month, well, that might be cutting kind of into it. But if I'm making thousands of dollars each month from tutoring, all of a sudden it just doesn't seem like such a big deal when it comes to that. What are your thoughts, Leah? Because you're just getting started, and I think like it's so important for people to hear, you know, because everybody's at a different stage. Whether they plan on going big and having lots and lots of students, or they are just getting started, what are your thoughts about this whole Zoom change?
Well, I heard about it through our group that you offer, and I have used Zoom before, but not as an initiator of a meeting, just as a participant. So
Hmm.
I was aware that in some cases, as group meetings were happening in the past, sometimes the administrator will have to stop the meeting and send us a new link or have us back in a few minutes, a few seconds later. So I was aware of the 40-minute limit, but when the whole topic got brought up within our group, I realized that, again, just like you were saying, at this point I feel like I'm looking at part-time. So I don't know, I guess it depends on how many students it actually is, but it's sort
Hmm.
of I know there are other things I'm going to have to invest in also. So I don't know if this will be the first thing that I invest in, because there are
Yeah.
other things that I want to invest in to make things run smoothly.
Right. And so you have to take a look at like the overall cost of everything over time,
Mm-hmm.
pros, cons, benefits, all those kinds of things. I think they're so important when we're thinking about what are we going to invest in. I started with Skype. Skype was free and it's still free today and it still works just fine to do tutoring online. It doesn't have like, I don't know if it has the backgrounds or those kinds of things, but at the end of the day, it's not like that's a necessity for running a tutoring business. So there are lots of options of tools that are free. And we're actually going to be talking about all those options on Friday, but no, Thursday, we have another call. Um, Today, we're going to be going on into a little bit more of that business mindset. And by the way, I have something exciting for those of you guys that are kind of doing a side hustle. There is a great package. You're going to see some more information about it tomorrow from me. But there is a great, amazing package of it's worth over $6,000 of like courses and all this kind of stuff that you're going to get access to for like one small fee. I've actually put my business in a box into it. So it's called InfoStack. There's a link inside of the description and you can check that on out. It doesn't open until tomorrow, so you'll see a countdown of when it opens. But over 40 different businesses have put their stuff into this entire info stack, which is going to help you with your side hustle, with growing your business, with social media. Oh my gosh, when I was checking it out, I was like blown away with all the amazing resources and tools that they have inside of here. But let's take a look at. So I was reading an article. It's by Sharice Duncan, and it was on zenbusiness.com. And she said, in order to build the right small business infrastructure, you must think strategically. That's having a business mindset. And she gives us 7 examples of having a business mindset. The first business mindset is having a business mindset is knowing the purpose of the business is to make money. She says sometimes your hobby is just a hobby. Either you're going to have a hobby that makes you a little extra money, or you're going to have a business that requires a higher level of development in order to acquire a higher level of income. I'd love to know your thoughts on that. Having a business mindset is knowing that the purpose of business is to make money. What are your thoughts about that?
Seems relatively obvious, perhaps. I mean, it's one has to look at the bottom line and also, especially in a tutoring business, figure out how to sort of put numbers to one's time, because that's
Mhm,
basically what people are paying for.
mhm.
Both, experience in the past as well as the actual
Yeah.
time in a meeting.
And the results you can
So,
get as well.
oh, of course,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, that's what the time is hopefully going towards, or else the parents are probably making a poor investment if the time isn't paying off in their students' achievements and things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think just you have to run a business, and the value in people's time, that's what I think gets a little tricky in things like tutoring businesses. You don't have so much of like a product that, okay, this product cost me $3 to make, therefore I'll sell it for 10 and I'll make a profit. It's
Mhm.
always a little bit different with tutoring. Okay, how much is my 1 hour worth? And does that change if I'm in New York or if I'm in Ohio or something?
Mhm.
Or online, that the geography gets a little bit muddled, and so that gets a little bit more challenging.
Mhm.
Um, then, of course, what people are going to pay. It's fine and dandy if you say that your time's worth, $1,000 an hour, but if no one's paying that, then it doesn't do much for your business.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I do see though, that a lot of tutors, especially the ones like me that are coming from the school system, we want to be able to help those kids that can't afford our services. And like, and I always tell people that when they have this beautiful idea of like, well, I don't want to charge a lot for my services because I know that the parents can't afford it. I think, okay, we really have a lot of work to do on business mindset because we are like one of the only people who's like, let me try to sell my services to a whole bunch of people who can't afford it. Like,
Yeah,
unfortunately, you are going to move into another demographic of people who can afford your services. And does that stink? Sure, that stinks. But you have to think about, are you trying to run a business? Or are you trying to run a volunteer agency? Um, and you can run a volunteer agency. You can turn this into a nonprofit if you want to. It will take you as much time as running a full on business. It's going to make you, that you could, at the end of the day, end up making 6 figures a year. It's going to it's going to cost you your time to do it, and you're not going to bring in a profit because you're a nonprofit, right? And you're still going to have to work with it's going to take you as much time. And so I almost think like, okay, it's going to take as much as I would love to focus on that. Maybe that's more something in the future after I become more successful, where I can start donating to different organizations that do offer that versus making that my full-time job, because I actually can make a decent living, and there's nothing wrong for making a decent living from doing what I love to do.
Yeah, I think also this, I've thought about kind of the nonprofit and profit sense of things, and people who can't afford tutoring. I've almost, this might be a little bit odd, but I've often thought of it as, okay, what if I had kind of my for-profit self, um, and then what if I charged enough that then if the odd student obviously can't afford it, I could basically be like have my nonprofit rate, um, which would be a small fraction of the for-profit. Now, I think that only works in a situation where you have customers who will pay high enough rates that you can really have a quite high sort of for-profit rate, um, that will kind of subsidize your time.
Yeah. And I've gone back and forth on that, and I've just decided, like, in the beginning, I was just kind of, if I knew people were they weren't going to be able to pay for the services, I'd say, okay, I'm going to take on one pro bono student. I can tend to say yes to too many people at once, and I had to limit myself because I was like, okay, you cannot keep offering your services for free to people because you think that they can't pay for it, because there are other ways that people can pay for it. I mean, what grandparent doesn't want to see their child having success? That could possibly, they could ask, right? Like, I can't put those kinds of positions on people. When I've given them away, people have even said to me, you'll never believe this, you guys. Um, I had somebody say to me, um, I feel like a charity case. And I was like so disheartened by that. Like, I was just trying to be helpful. I'm not trying to treat you like a charity case. Like, so we don't think of how sometimes we're harming people by making those kinds of decisions. And so I've realized, okay, business, volunteer. And they are two completely different things. I do not volunteer my reading services anymore. I volunteer at church. I volunteer in other ways. I'm volunteering to build a church in Guatemala. I'm doing other things and initiatives that I really believe in without volunteering my business, because I never want to make somebody feel like they're a charity case again. Um, that that felt awful on my part when she said that to me. And I was just like, okay, you thought you were doing a really good thing, and apparently it's not. So I think it's such a tricky area. Here's the second thing that she says in the article. She says, having a business mindset means thinking for yourself versus letting other people think for you. Don't allow the experts to control your destiny or your dreams. Let them help you get there. Take some time to think, document, research your own idea before asking for help. If you do, you will better be equipped to ask for exactly what you want and what you're getting. And I think this is really interesting. Like, I do get to think for myself with my business. Like, I get to make every single decision for myself. Like, I could listen to somebody say, oh, you should do automated invoices. And I can be like, no, I don't want to do automated invoices. I like the way that I'm doing it. I'd like to do Venmo with every single one of my clients. Here's the cool thing. Like, you can. I think that's awesome. What do you guys think about that? What do you think, Leah?
I think the freedom to be able to think for yourself is something that, obviously draws many people to being entrepreneurs to begin with.
Yeah.
When we don't want someone handing us all those instructions all the time without always good purpose or understanding of why those decisions are being made. But so, I mean, I definitely think that I can see why that's a business mindset that has to take place in order to be successful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What do you think, Rebecca?
Yeah, so definitely choosing kind of how we do things is one thing that I really like about working for myself, essentially, and how to sort of manage students' learning, keep track of what students are working on, manage payments, and any other sort of thing that is part of running your business. I like to kind of think through it and say, okay, I know myself really, really well. So what will kind of make my life easier? And then
Hmm.
also what will be best for the students and the parents and
Yeah,
anyone else involved.
yeah. Yeah, I always think of, do I have a problem? Like, is something here not working the way it needs to work?
Mm.
Um, and so that's actually how I came up with the automated payments myself, because I wasn't getting paid on time. I was chasing my money down. I was having to do all these different things. And I'm like, okay, this is a problem. Like, I'm feeling really frustrated. I feel like, you know, sometimes parents aren't paying the invoice and then they stop the tutoring with you. And you're like, I don't know. It was so frustrating for me. And I was like, okay, something has to change here. But I got to make that decision. How do I want to change it? What do I want to do? And I started researching and figuring out what was going to be a good solution for me with this. I think I love being able to teach my kids and my students, make all those decisions. Like, okay, I don't have to go through the hoops of administration to be able to give this or that to this student right now. And that is such a blessing. Um, Another thing that she mentioned is having a business mindset is knowing what we need. So to connect our businesses, and that connection is profitability. So how do you connect your profitability? By knowing your profit margin, your cash flow, your competitive advantage, your sales goals, and your key profit indicators. And I thought, oh, this is kind of like this whole like the cash flow piece is all about like how much money am I bringing in from this business and how much money is going out so that I can run my business. You guys, oh my gosh. So I think about this all the time. How lucky we are that we don't have to have a brick and mortar business in order to do what we do. Like that we don't have to pay rent and all of that kind of stuff that's associated with running our business. I can like have a computer, work from home. I'm mind blown at how easy all of this can be today. So I so appreciate that. But we've got subscriptions, right? There are different like websites and tools that we like that we have subscriptions to, and there are pieces of our business that we do have to pay for. Like I pay, a fee for credit cards for my clients to be able to use the credit cards, right? Like there's a fee that's associated with that. Now that does not count as profit, so I don't get taxed on that because of that. But these are all things that I have to keep in track and so I have to see, okay, does Zoom fit into this? How is my profit margin so far? And if I wanted to add something like, let's say I want to add something like Zoom to the mix, could I, for my future clients, charge a higher rate? Guess what? Yes, because number two was having a business mindset means thinking for yourself. So can I charge more for my services? Yes. Do I need to keep my rates low so that people keep working with me? Well, I can keep them low with my current clients and raise them for my incoming clients, right? So, like I've gone from 40 to 50 to 60 to 75 to $100 an hour. I can raise them to meet the needs of my business. So, one of the things I find with a lot of tutors is they're just not charging enough for their services to efficiently run their business. And therefore, when it comes to making financial decisions, they struggle because they're not able to afford the different things. I would love to know, like, what are your thoughts about that?
So I think because I started in person, being in New York, the rates were relatively good, and so I could sort of, I mean, I'm basically, I don't, and I didn't really have any costs when I was in person besides my Metro card that I had already. um, so it, it was it was reasonably easy to think, okay, maybe I can invest in something. But it was also, especially when I was in person before the pandemic, it was a very, very informal business. In fact, I hesitate to call it a business um, but I think I did notice that, okay, this seems to be working. I wasn't really having issues with, say, people not paying me or people not showing up or canceling and then refusing to pay or something, any. And I was noticing that actually, I think that charging decent rates kind of eliminated a lot of that issue, um, in that, their parents were sort of investing in my services for their children, so they were gonna pay me, and yeah,
Yeah.
but I think that it's it's really it's all I mean, it's always as a sort of as someone who's providing like their service, it's really hard to put a value on that. And it's also really hard to figure out how much people are willing to pay and, kind of supply and demand. But I think that sometimes it's better to go a little bit on the higher side to then, like, people will come and people can pay. It's just, are they willing to allocate the money to
Yes.
this?
That's so true. There's so many people that they'll say that money is a reason why they can't afford your tutoring services, but there's a difference between that and wanting to allocate the money towards the tutoring services, and people mix those up all the time for sure. What are your thoughts, Leah?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, I feel like whether you're starting a new business of any sort, the people you share that information with and reach out to first are the people closest to you, so family and friends. And um, I think having taught for so many years, you've built relationships with so many people. When they hear that you're offering services for tutoring, I think it can be a little difficult. We're relational beings because that's how we were
Yes.
created. And so when we have relationship with people, I feel like even though I'm not in the mix of it yet, I feel like just getting my feet wet, I feel like a struggle to charge my worth and
Yes.
my time versus wanting to help someone that you are in relationship with. So I don't know. I think that that's part of it. And then part of it too is being that this is new for me in many, many, many years. I tutored in person many years ago, but I feel like in a way, it almost feels like the confidence isn't there, like I
Mm.
just don't have the current experience that makes me feel confident that yes, I can do this. So therefore I can charge what I'm worth.
Right. No, I totally agree. And it is so different with family members than it is with strangers, because the family members are like the worst in the world when it comes to wanting a deal. Like they want the best deal that they can possibly get because they know you, like they're in, like Flynn, right? They're like, "Oh, I know she's going to want to help me, and therefore I bet she'll give me a good deal on this." Like it's that expectation, and it actually can damage relationships. And oh my gosh, I had a terrible experience with that.
Mm.
My I started my business and I reached out to my sister-in-law because her son lived in Illinois, I'm in Wisconsin, and he was struggling with reading. And I was sharing my idea with her, which back in 2010, I felt like she actually said to me, "So you want to use my son as a guinea pig?" I'm like, no. I said, I'd like to help your son who is struggling with reading. And the in person students that I have been working with, I'm going to try the same exact strategies, but online. So there may be a few things that I have to get used to online versus doing it in person. But the strategies are all going to be the same that I've done with my in person students. So it's not like you're a guinea pig. And I was like heartbroken that that's how she would describe it. I was like, that is such a like, I felt like I was pulling teeth to give her free services, okay? Because I wasn't charging her anything for this. I just wanted to get used to being online and do this and see, can I build this into a business? Well, 2 years later, my other sister-in-law comes on up to me and she goes, "Hey, my son is struggling with fluency." Well, my business now is zooming. I've got lots of paid clients coming on in. I'm having to turn people down. And she's like, "He's really struggling." I said, "All right, I'll give you a deal. I'll give you 20% off of my regular rate." She was livid with me. Wouldn't talk to me for like an entire year. She refused to we go to my mother-in-law's every Sunday. She refused to go to my mother-in-law's house, which is actually her mom, because I was going to be there because I charged 20% less because she wanted it free like the other sister, and she thought that I was being that she just didn't understand the situation, that like, look, I was just starting my business and I was just trying to see if it worked, right? Now I have a business and I've got lots of people, but yeah, it was a terrible, terrible situation. And so like I will not take like now in my business, I won't take on friends and family. I'll be like, I don't think right now I'm completely booked solid. I don't think I'm going to be the best fit, but I do know another tutor who'll be a great fit for you. Would you like me to introduce you? Because I don't ever want that to damage another relationship again like that. I think at the beginning, as long as you are offering really cheap services or free services to get started and doing that kind of stuff, it can be really great. Um, but yeah, that was I did definitely learn my lesson that that's not something that I ever want to do again. I know. Someone just put inside of Facebook, "Oh my God, I know it was a nightmare. I felt like a horrible human being. I felt like really belittled from the situation. I didn't feel valued as a person. And I'm the sister-in-law, so it really it was a really hurtful situation to go through. And so, yeah, so now I'm just at the point I'm like, okay, I'm not offering. So, unless it's my own children, like my grandchildren or something, because my kids are like, Mom, you wouldn't charge me for, if it's your grandchild, would you? I'm like, no, 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 I would not charge for for my grandchild. So, it just all comes down to, again, like sometimes we have to just live experiences in our business and be okay with having some of these experiences to know how do we want to move forward in our business and treat it like a business. Um, Here's another thing that she had mentioned in the article. She said, having a business mindset is being open to multiple streams of income and multiple businesses. And this is kind of you, Rebecca, isn't it?
Yeah, so I'm actually a classical musician as well as a math tutor, and then I do various other things in the city as well. And I think I'll admit I didn't really know anything going into this. I actually fell into tutoring by accident. Someone just was like, "Oh, well, you should go tutor this person in math." I was like, "Wait a second, you pay how much for that?" And so, yeah, I think depending on where you are and what your skills are and what you're involved in, I mean, I think New York City is a little bit unique in the sense that you can really do just about anything there. And also, people are looking to hire people to do about just about anything. The
Yeah.
most bizarre jobs you can imagine um, will suddenly pay pretty good money often.
Yes.
Um, and especially if you can work directly with the customer and avoid any sort of middlemen. Um, so yeah, I think the important thing though is to be professional in each business you're in, and also I've noticed with customers, at least when I start off before I get to know a client very well, um, focusing that that business is your business
Yes.
rather than telling them about some other business you're involved in.
Right.
Only when you get in once you get to know the customer, then, they might end up finding out that, "Oh, yeah, you're also a musician. Oh, that's so cool." But if you brand yourself as, "Oh, I'm a musician, I'm a math tutor, I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm a 5 other things," then the customer looking for a math tutor is not gonna think very highly of that necessarily at the
Right.
beginning, because 'cause they're kind
Right.
of like, "Well, maybe I'll hire someone who specializes in only being a math tutor."
Yes. And so I think that's you make such a good point, is like the whole branding piece of it, that you're branding yourself as a math tutor with the clients that would see you as a math tutor, but you also might be branding yourself as, a musician with other people who maybe want you to teach the musical skills that you have to their child, and sometimes there might be some overlap there. I have people all the time ask me if I do math tutoring for the younger kids, and I'm like, yeah, if it's a student I'm already working with in reading and they want math help as well, I can help with that. I go up to sixth grade. So once we get past the sixth grade, I'm done. I'm not your go-to person for that. I have to reteach myself stuff, and I'm not willing to do that. So I think it's being open to the opportunities that are available to you. I even just doing like I do jazzercise during the day, and I just fell in love with it. And one day, one of the instructors said, "Hey, you want to be an instructor?" I'm like, I never thought about this before. I could make money coming to class. I'm already coming to class. And now you're telling me I could teach, make money, and I'm going to get a better workout because I have to be the instructor on stage showing people what to do. I don't know. This totally sounds like a win-win to me, and it's going to keep me motivated to keep coming to class. So then I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Is it huge money? No. But I do it because I would have already been doing it, and now I'm getting paid instead of paying to do it. In the beginning years, that extra money was absolutely huge. I mean, now it's kind of like peanuts compared to what I do, but um, it's keeping your mind open to those multiple streams of income, and there's so many different opportunities. So I absolutely love it. I think the big thing here, you guys, when it comes to running our business is um, if you're a side hustle teacher and you're just kind of doing it on the side, you're doing it as a hobby, you know, you have to think about like the bottom line when it comes to your business and cash flow, right? Do you have enough cash coming on in to be able to make it happen? Um, you might need to think, do I need to increase my rates or not increase my rates? Or you can look for other, alternatives when it comes to using resources and tools. There are tools for me that I use. There are free tools like Wizimo. Wizimo is not free; it's a paid, but there are other tools that do the same thing as Wizimo. So I can use the other tools for free that do practically the same thing if it gets the same result for my students. And so sometimes we're going to pay for different tools. Sometimes we're going to get certain tools free. We just have to look at the bottom line. Like, what is the bottom line? How important is this tool to me? If it's an extremely important tool, I'm going to find a way to pay for it. If it's not an extremely important tool and there's many other tools out there that I can utilize, well, then I can obviously take a look at all the different options that are available. But remember, we're all not in the same place as a business, right? We are all here to support each other. If you are not a member of the Ultimate Support Group for Online Tutors, definitely come and join us inside of Facebook. We are a free community that help other tutors be able to talk about anything with their tutoring business and helping to grow it. We answer people's questions. We provide support and advice and all those great things. And you also get access to when we have events, you get to be the first ones to know that an event is coming on up that you have the ability to join. So lots of really great opportunities to network with other tutors, which, by the way, is a great way to be able to get other students as well. Some people tell me that they want to get students from another state or another country. Well, we've got tutors from every single state. There's over 11,000 people inside of our group. It's a great place to be able to come on in and be able to network. And thank you so much, Rebecca and Leah, for joining us today and having this conversation. I think it's so enlightening for people to really start thinking about kind of what is the difference between, somebody who's doing this part-time, somebody who's doing this full-time, somebody who this is their side hustle, somebody who, this is their business. Like we are all just in different places with our business. And for people just to understand that all of these things kind of take place, and we're slowly growing our business mindset. If this is the first business that we've ever had, that is going to take time for us to grow, and we have to make the best decisions for our business that make the most sense for us. We get to be the person who's in charge. So thanks for joining us today, and come see us on Thursday, where we're going to be chatting all about the different Zoom alternatives that you could be building on into your business. And then next Monday, you're going to also get to see some of the new features inside of Schoolified. Thanks for joining us, you guys.